This is Max and Mia podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Max and Mia podcast. I'm Mia.
And I'm Max. We hope you're having a good day. Today we have something a little different for you. Something you can actually use right away.
Exactly. Today the episode is built around a shadowing activity, which basically means you listen and then you repeat. You copy the rhythm, the sounds, the way the words connect.
Right. And I will be the one narrating the situations today. Real, everyday situations. Things that happen to all of us. Nothing too complicated, nothing too strange.
We split the activity into 2 levels. The first part is for A2 learners. Clear sentences, simple vocabulary. And the second part moves into B1 and a little beyond. A bit more natural, a bit more connected.
One thing I want to mention before we start. In this episode, we focus a lot on connected speech. That is, the way words link together when people talk at a normal pace. It sounds different from what you read, and that is exactly why we practice it.
And whenever a word or phrase might be new for you, Max will stop and explain it. So do not worry if something sounds unfamiliar. That is part of the process.
All right, so find a comfortable spot, maybe somewhere you can speak out loud without feeling too self-conscious. And let's get into it. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to take you through a trip I did a few months ago from Seattle to New York. 5 hours on a plane, one very long day, and a few things that didn't go exactly as planned. As I tell you what happened, I want you to follow along, and when I point something out, try to repeat it with me. Not just to hear it, but to feel how it sits in your mouth. That's how shadowing works. Imagine yourselves in my shoes. Pretend you are the one telling this story to a friend or family member and start shadowing. So, it's early, 6 in the morning early. I'm at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport and I haven't slept much. I'm dragging my suitcase through the terminal looking for the check-in counter. I find it, I get in line, and I wait. The woman at the counter looks up and says to me, "Good morning, sir. May I have your passport and booking confirmation?" And I say, "Of course, 1 second." I start going through my bag. My passport's there, but I can't find the confirmation email on my phone right away. She's waiting, I'm scrolling, and I tell her, "I'm sorry, bear with me for just a moment." She smiles and says, "Take your time." Now, bear with me. I want you to stop on that one. This is something you say when you need someone to be patient with you for a short moment. Not wait, not hold on. Bear with me. It's polite, it's natural, and it works in almost any situation. Whether you're on a phone call, in a meeting, or like me, standing at an airport counter at 6 in the morning looking like a disaster. Go ahead and say it. Bear with me for just a moment. Say it again, and this time own it. Bear with me. Good. So she checks me in, puts a tag on my bag, and sends me towards security. Security in American airports is its own little world. You take off your shoes, your jacket, your belt, you put everything in plastic bins, and you walk through a body scanner. I get through fine, grab my things on the other side, and head to the gate. I've got about 40 minutes before boarding, so I sit down near the window and I just watch the planes outside for a bit. There's something about airports early in the morning. Everyone's quiet, a little tired, a little somewhere else in their heads. Then boarding starts. They call the groups one by one. I get on, find my seat, and settle in. A few minutes later, the flight attendant comes on the speaker and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the captain and the entire crew, welcome aboard. We're happy to have you with us today." On behalf of. Let's sit with that for a second because you're going to hear it a lot outside of airports too. It means you're speaking or doing something as a representative of someone else. So if your manager can't make it to a meeting and you go instead, you might say, "I'm here on behalf of my manager." Or at the end of a work email, you might write, "On behalf of the whole team, thank you for your support." It's formal, it's useful, and it sounds sharp. Repeat it with me. On behalf of the captain and the crew, welcome aboard. One more time. On behalf of the captain and the crew, welcome aboard. Okay, so the flight takes off. 5.5 hours to JFK. I sleep for most of it, but at some point, maybe 2 hours in, the man sitting next to me taps my arm. I open my eyes and he says, "Sorry to bother you. Do you know if they're still serving drinks?" I look toward the back of the plane and I can see a flight attendant moving through the aisle with a cart. I tell him, "Yeah, it looks like they are. She's coming this way." He says, "Oh, great, I didn't even notice. I blinked and missed it the first time around." I blinked and missed it. Now that's worth slowing down for. To blink is the physical action of closing and opening your eyes in a fraction of a second. But when people say, "I blinked and missed it," or "you blink and it's gone," they mean something happened so fast that if you weren't fully paying attention, you missed it completely. You'll hear it used about cities changing, about kids growing up fast, about a sale that ends in one day. Blink and you'll miss it. Try that with me. Blink and you'll miss it. Very well. So, we land at JFK around 3 in the afternoon. The captain comes on and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we've landed in New York. Local time is 3:12 p.m. On behalf of the entire crew, thank you for flying with us today. We hope to see you on board again soon." I grab my bag from the overhead compartment, that's the storage space above your seat on the plane, and I follow the crowd out. There are signs everywhere pointing to baggage claim, which is where you pick up the suitcase you checked in at the start. I follow the signs. I wait by the belt, my bag comes around, and I pull it off. I walk out through the arrivals door, and the first thing I feel is that New York air. Cold, a little sharp, and it hits me that I'm actually here. Long morning, long flight, but I made it.
Okay, so that was part 1. How are you feeling? Did you shadow along?
Hopefully, yes. And if you didn't, go back. Seriously, even just one section. Pick the one that felt fastest and run it again.
That's the move, actually. You don't have to redo the whole thing. Just find the part where you lost the rhythm or where something didn't quite land, and sit with that for a bit.
Because that's where the work actually happens, not in the parts that already feel comfortable.
Right. The uncomfortable part is the part that's teaching you something.
And look, if you're doing this on the bus or at home or wherever you listen and you feel a little silly repeating out loud, that's fine. That feeling goes away. What stays is the muscle memory.
Exactly. Okay, if you're enjoying the episode so far, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave us a like. It genuinely helps other learners find the podcast more than most people realize.
All right, part 2?
Part 2, B2 level. A bit more natural, a bit more connected. You ready?
Let's go. Okay, same deal as before. Imagine you're the one telling this story. Maybe to a friend, maybe to someone in your family. You just got back from a trip and you're catching them up on how it went. Shadow along, repeat when I point something out. Or if you're a little tired by now, just listen. Either way, stay with me. All right. So, I told you I landed at JFK around 3 in the afternoon. By the time I got through baggage claim, found the air train, and figured out which subway line I needed, it was closer to 5. New York has a way of doing that. You think something will take 20 minutes and it takes an hour, and somehow that feels normal once you're there. My hotel was in Midtown, which put me right in the middle of everything. Not always ideal if you want quiet, but ideal if you want to actually see the city. I checked in, dropped my bag, and stood at the window for a moment. 10th floor, looking out over the street below. Yellow cabs, people walking fast, a food cart on the corner with steam coming off it. I hadn't eaten since the plane, so I made a decision pretty quickly. I went downstairs and just started walking. That's the thing about New York. You don't really need a plan. You just pick a direction and the city does the rest. About 2 blocks from the hotel, I found a deli. Not a fancy place, just one of those spots that's been there forever. The kind where the menu is written on a board above the counter and the guy taking your order has clearly done this about 1,000,000 times. I walked up and he looked at me and said, "What can I get you?" No hello, no welcome, just straight to it. And honestly, I liked that. I told him I wanted a sandwich, something with turkey, and he said, "You want that toasted?" I said yes. He said, "Mustard, mayo, both, neither?" I said both. And within about 4 minutes, I had a sandwich in my hand and I was back out on the street. Now, that exchange, short as it was, is actually really useful to think about. In that kind of setting, a deli, a food truck, a busy cafe, conversations move fast, and they're very direct. Nobody's being rude. That's just the pace. So if you're ever in that situation and you feel a little caught off guard, the best thing you can do is just commit to an answer. Don't overthink it. Yes, both. To go. Short, clear, confident. The person on the other side will appreciate it, and you'll feel a lot better for it. So I walked and ate, which is a very New York thing to do, and ended up near Bryant Park as the sun was starting to go down. There's something about that light in the late afternoon, the way it hits the buildings. I sat on one of the park benches for a bit and just watched people go by. A woman on a phone call, clearly frustrated. 2 guys on bikes weaving through the crowd. A kid dragging his dad toward the fountain. Just life, moving at full speed. After a while, I decided to walk up toward Central Park. It was getting cold, that sharp kind of cold that doesn't mess around. But I figured if I was going to be in New York, I wasn't going to spend the evening inside. I pulled my jacket tighter and kept moving. On the way, I stopped at a coffee cart, one of those small corner setups, just a guy, a machine, and a line of people who clearly needed it as much as I did. The guy running it was older, had one of those thick New York accents you hear in movies, and think is exaggerated until you actually meet someone who has it. I asked for a black coffee and he said, "You got it. Where are you from? You don't sound like you're from around here." I told him Seattle. He nodded and said, "Long way. You here for work or you just playing tourist?" Now, playing tourist. I want to stop there for a second. It's a phrase people use when they're doing the classic visitor things in a city. Sightseeing, taking photos, wandering around without a real agenda. And it's usually said in a slightly self-aware, almost joking way. Like, you know you're being a tourist. You're not pretending otherwise. I spent the whole day just playing tourist. We didn't have a plan, we were just playing tourist. It's casual, it's natural, and it's a nice way to describe that kind of relaxed, exploratory day. Go ahead and say it. We were just playing tourist. One more time. We were just playing tourist. All right, let's continue. I told the coffee guy, yeah, pretty much. He laughed and said, "Nothing wrong with that. Most people who live here forget to actually look at the place." He handed me my coffee and I kept walking. I made it to Central Park just as it was getting dark. The park at night has a different energy than during the day. Still people around, joggers, couples, a guy on a bench reading with headphones on, but quieter, more spread out. I walked along one of the main paths for a while, hands in my pockets, coffee in one hand, not really going anywhere in particular. At some point, I sat down on a bench near one of the lampposts and just took it in. And I remember thinking, this is one of those moments that sounds boring when you describe it, but feels like a lot when you're actually in it. Just sitting in Central Park at night, tired from traveling, in a city you don't know that well. There's something grounding about it. I headed back to the hotel around 9. On the way, I passed a group of people lined up outside a restaurant, easily 20-25 people just waiting. No complaints, no impatience, just standing there on the sidewalk like it was completely normal. Which, in New York, it is. If a place is good, people will wait. I made a note to look up what the restaurant was. It was a pasta place. The reviews were absurd. I did not get a table. Back at the hotel, I stopped at the front desk because the heating in my room wasn't working properly. It wasn't a big deal. The room wasn't freezing, but it was noticeably cold, and I knew I wasn't going to sleep well. The woman at the desk was friendly. I walked up and said, "Hi, sorry to bother you. The heating in my room doesn't seem to be working. Is there anything you can do about that?" She said, "Of course. I'm sorry about that. Let me have someone take a look. In the meantime, would you like us to move you to a different room?" I said that would actually be great if it wasn't too much trouble. She said, "Not at all. Give me just a moment." And about 5 minutes later, I had a new room on the 12th floor with heating that worked perfectly. Now, I want to highlight how I phrased that complaint, because I think it's worth repeating. Sorry to bother you. The heating doesn't seem to be working. Is there anything you can do about that? 3 things happening there. First, I acknowledged that I was interrupting someone. Second, I described the problem without being dramatic about it. And third, I asked for help in a way that gave them room to respond rather than putting them on the spot. That combination, polite, clear, and open-ended, almost always works. Whether it's a hotel, a shop, a restaurant, any situation where something isn't right and you need to say something. Try it with me. Sorry to bother you, but this doesn't seem to be working. Is there anything you can do? Say it again and make it yours. Sorry to bother you, but this doesn't seem to be working. Is there anything you can do? Excellent. Let's continue. I went up to the new room, ordered room service, something simple, soup and bread, and sat on the bed watching the city from the window. 12th floor, Midtown Manhattan, a Tuesday night. Cars below, lights everywhere, the sound of the city doing what it does. And that was day one. One city, one long day. A sandwich, a coffee, a park bench, a pasta place I never got into, and a room that was finally warm. Not a bad start.
And that's New York. One day, and it's already a sandwich, a park, a coffee cart, a pasta place that didn't work out, and a hotel room that was freezing.
And somehow that's enough. That's what I like about that city. You don't need a packed itinerary for it to feel like something actually happened.
I think that's what the story captures. Honestly, it's not about doing a lot. It's about being present wherever you are. Which, by the way, is also kind of what shadowing is about. You're not trying to do everything at once. You're just in it, paying attention.
Exactly. And if you shadowed along today, both parts or even just one, that's real work. It doesn't always feel like it in the moment, but it adds up.
It really does. Okay, thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. That's not something we take for granted.
If you enjoyed the episode, subscribe, leave us a like, and we'll be back soon with more.
See you in the next one.
Take care. To keep taking your English to the next level, click on the next video or explore the others we've made for you.